recording.
Even though I moved the jelly beans further away, I just went back and grabbed it a little bit.
Jelly beans. Oh, my wife got me for Christmas. Oh, this is the best thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's bourbon popcorn, and it's got ribbon with a hint of vanilla, and it's got ribbons of chocolate in it.
Oh, hard chocolate?
No, it's just like a hard chocolate, like a hard chocolate that's set up inside of it. It is amazing.
Interesting.
Oh, it's so
I'm
good.
sure I can quite picture it.
Yeah,
I'll have to try some, figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Hi, and welcome to Seattle's #1 comic book podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to the first issue of your next favorite comic, episode 90, and I am Larry.
I'm James.
James, we made it to episode 90. That
90, that's pretty good.
That two-parter was fun last week.
That's like an
week.
A.
That's like an A. What do you mean?
90. 90% is an A.
Oh, 90%. Well, this is episode 90, and I hope it's a 90%. But if we did...
Yeah, well, I hope it's not 90%, because we'll go past 100.
Yeah, it'll be 100%. Because
we give 110%.
Because we got 100% of a first issue here.
Yeah, well, kind of.
Well, this is a graphic novel.
I read it in the... Well, yeah. We got a first chapter of a graphic novel.
First chapter of a graphic novel.
It's a pretty distinct chapter. I mean, it should be its own issue.
Yeah,
it's a pretty clear issue.
It's a pretty clear issue in the comic.
It's only 18 pages though?
18 pages, and I almost texted you, and I almost... Well,
You're almost like, let's do the whole thing.
Let's do the whole thing. That would be a commitment.
It's like 160 or something, right?
That would be a commitment, because last week I was... so the book that we're talking about, the comic book that we are talking about...
No, don't tell them, Larry. Don't tell them.
The graphic novel that we are talking about is called My Favorite Thing is Monsters.
Great title.
Great title.
Clever title is one thing, but memorable? This title is so usually I have to go back and look at the website or listen to the podcast or find a note I scribbled down when I'm trying to read next week's issue. This one, I remembered it very easily.
It's a great title because it's so cute, right?
Yeah.
And the title says a lot,
long, but not obnoxious.
Yeah, the title says a lot because the main character who we meet in the story, she's a 10-year-old girl whose favorite thing is monsters.
My favorite thing, but the other thing is my favorite thing is monsters. I would have said my favorite things are monsters, but somehow my favorite thing is monsters is way better.
Yeah, I agree.
My
I think
favorite
it's great.
thing is monsters. Monsters is one thing.
Right.
She doesn't love each individual. She just likes
she likes monsters.
She likes monsters.
I was messing around with my in my brain, like what would 10-year-old Larry say his favorite thing was?
Yeah, my favorite thing is
camping.
Camping.
I like turtles.
My favorite thing is candy.
Yeah. So the book that we're talking about, My Favorite Thing is Monsters, was written and drawn, so art and story by Emil Farris, and it was published by Fantagraphics. It came out last year, and there's a cool story I read on Wikipedia about this. It came out actually in 2015, but the Japanese publisher who was publishing it went bankrupt, and then
they had to print it on notebook paper.
No, it got oh my gosh, my brain. The tanker.
Rhythm's gonna get you.
The container was stopped at the Panama Canal. They wouldn't let it into the country. Like the printing.
No, Larry's like, I need my comics.
Yeah, so Fantagraphics
Stuck in Panama.
Fantagraphics got involved and published it.
Sweet.
Wikipedia.
Good one. That's an interesting backstory.
Oh, this lady is, she's got some other, interesting backstory stuff on Wikipedia, but I won't go into all of that.
If there was a spin-off of this comic called My Favorite Thing is Unicorns, I would read that too.
Well, this book.
And I'm not even necessarily a huge unicorn fan, but I could see this author doing it well.
I could see this author doing it well too. But this book.
It'd be like the opposite book though.
Yeah, this book is, book 1. And book 2 is in the works and available for pre-sale.
Oh, that's very in the works.
Yeah. So let's get into this awesome graphic novel that we're only going to talk about the first 19 pages.
Yes, the first year, I guess. Like if you notice, it starts with like a cover page, right? And it says the year of like whatever year it is. 1960.
1960.
On the page. No, it's not. 1967.
Okay.
Right? And then the next year, and it says, like, Creatures of Movieville, 55 cents, a year in review. Larry, you know what I'm talking?
Yeah, I'm looking at that page.
All right, so that's like, to me, the cover page of the thing, right?
Right.
Okay. And then at the beginning, we can peek into the first of the next issue. And it's 1968. February 68.
Where do you see that?
It's ghastly.
Oh, yeah. So yes, you're right. So at the end of this chapter.
So the end of this chapter, it's the next year. So next year would be February 68.
Oh.
I had to take a peek at the cover of the next issue.
You picked that up. I did not see that.
Yeah, so it made it because I was like, I want to make sure I'm reading just the first thing, and it's very obvious that this is the cover of the next one, Ghastly Kiss of the Warlock.
And I'm just
these covers are so good.
These covers are great. The covers. So about a word about the art. The art is all done with ballpoint pen in a notebook. In a note
on a notebook paper.
On notebook paper. And
Larry, you said you went out and bought it.
I did. It is weighty. It is, it's photocopied onto, like each one isn't an individual spiraled. She didn't do.
It would be so much ink on a piece of paper. Like, these things would be heavy.
They'd be soggy. His face would be soggy. like the Wolfman's
face.
About
the process.
Well, what I see in this first one, most of it's black and white, but this title page is in color, and I imagine her doing it with those 4-color pens.
Oh yeah, the ones that you click around. It's got blue and white, and then or like the blue bottom, white top, and
yeah, so it's got red, green, and blue and yellow.
Yeah,
and all those colors
perfect.
are represented here. So our main character is obsessed with.
Wait, we got to keep talking about the art, though.
Yeah, well, I was going to bring that back into it. She is obsessed with monsters, creatures, B-movie horror stuff, and she recreates.
You could even say her favorite thing is monsters.
She recreates classic. What are these magazines? These creature magazines. For each chapter.
Yeah. I guess that. I mean, I didn't even see her as drawing it. I thought it was just a thing for it. I mean, I guess the main character author is also the artist.
Right.
Right. So it's being drawn the story is being told as if it's like the diary of the person who's the main character.
The main character. And her name is Karen Reyes. And she is a 10-year-old girl in Chicago in the mid-60s.
Mm-hmm.
And she likens herself, and I think this is very cool, she likens herself to an outcast wolf girl in this case. And she's turned herself into, so all of the other people in her story are humans except for her. She draws herself as a wolf girl.
Yeah. So I want to just go back to the art for half a second because like I feel like we said that it was drawn with like ballpoint pen, and that's not the like. This is like the most detailed art I think we've seen.
It's
I don't know if
crazy.
anything really compares with this. This, like, every square inch is full of some kind of cross hatching, some kind of texture, some kind of shading. Like, the hands, you like have fingerprints on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't like stand out.
Yeah, it's so neat. It's so much fun cause like, it's fun to revisit this.
So, I'm gonna say that like, this is my favorite art so far of any comic we've read.
It is so great. It is so great. It's so fun to revisit this because I'm looking at her like classic, and the things are off too. That's the other thing. She's 10 years old. She's drawing this, and sometimes the perspective is a little wonky. It's really good art. It's good art. But sometimes her anatomy is wrong. You'll catch little.
But the pan. Well, I think I thought that was part of the monster.
Well, I'm just looking, just in general.
Okay. You mean like of the faces of the people?
Yeah. Sometimes she'll just draw somebody a little bit like their arm is way too big for their body, and their clothes are a little lumpy, and so once we get into the people. But I'm looking at this first page, and I'm just loving what I see.
That's crazy you say that because I don't really see that at all.
Well, I'll point it out when we get to that.
But yeah, like the way that it's on notebook paper, the paneling is like it shouldn't be that much different, but they're doing a great job. Like just the way that things are connected in a lot of these panels is really well done.
Yeah,
and like and how much word like. There's a lot of pages that have a lot of words, but it doesn't seem too dense somehow. I mean, maybe a little bit at some points, but
it does, because there's so the first page I'm looking at is Karen putting. Well, we don't see her yet, but we see one of those classic old timey record players. It's up, and she's listening to the Trogs, and I just noticed in the music that's coming out of the tiny little hole speaker, it says "Wild Thing." Do you see that? Isn't that great? I just love that stuff. And
that's the Trogs. I don't know if I know that song.
Oh,
I think it's a different Wild Thing than
you just sang it.
Is that by the Trogs?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that song.
Yeah,
it's a different.
You probably remember the Sam Kinison version. He's screaming.
I think I love you.
So this is just great art. So we see the exterior of her building, and so this first issue, James, the first issue is really
the exterior of her building in the rain. Like I love that.
Yeah, and she kept her. Like,
or the two, I thought the landscape of the city
is
what I thought you were talking about at first.
Oh yeah, I just skimmed right past
the 2-page landscape of the city.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, I love that.
Yeah, it's really cool. So it's Chicago, and
it's raining and it's cloudy.
The thing that I think is just so neat is
but all these are different too.
Yeah, you can even imagine yourself. Everybody's doodled in a notebook.
It makes it very accessible. Like you look at this on notebook paper and you're like, no way.
Yeah. You've doodled on notebook paper, and you can almost imagine her. Look at that perfectly round moon. Oh. You can almost imagine her like putting a dime down and circling that, and then doodling around with the clouds, and she just noodles it, and her hands must be so tired at the end of the day because like there's so much ink on this page.
How would you even put your hand down and not smudge? But like, if you were in class and you're just like doing your work or whatever, and you look over and you saw someone doing one of these pages, he would double take so hard.
I would. Yeah.
You'd be like, have you been working on that all year?
Yeah.
Like that has so much detail in it.
Yeah, it's just, it's just like scribble, scribble, scribble.